In reading through again some of the criteria that you lay out in terms of investments, lots of talk about the product, lots of talk about how you prefer technical founders, which is interesting. I want to talk about that in a second. But very little talk about the business.
Right.
And so again, this goes back to this tension of product versus business. Sounds like you are very focused on product.
Well, we don't believe there's a tension between product and business. We believe there's a staging, which is in this industry, you don't have a business until you have a product. And in particular, you don't have a business until you have a product that a lot of people want. We have this concept, we use the term product market fit, which is basically you have a product that the market wants and you can tell because the market's pulling the product. And until you have that, time spent building the business around the product is pointless because it's not going to go anywhere. Like best case, it's going to be a zombie. There's a lot of companies in the Valley. There's a lot of companies in the Valley and elsewhere that are, 25, 50, 75 people. They've got a product. Nobody really wants it. They sell a few every quarter, and they kind of eke out a living. And they go on for year after year after year after year after year, and they never get anywhere. They never go public. They never get bought, and people just basically collect salaries. And that's not what not what we want to do, and that's not what super high potential entrepreneurs want to do. So what we basically say is if you want to build a big success, you got to nail the product. You got to it's got to be a killer product. It's got to be something that has product market fit. When you have product market fit, then you build a company around it, right? So then you build a sales force, and then you start doing marketing, and then you start doing business deals, and then you start expanding internationally, and you do all this other stuff. And it's at that point where you start to apply a lot of capital, and you build a big board, and you start hiring executives and doing all this stuff. But a full executive team with a sales force and all that stuff before you have the killer product is a complete waste of time.
It matters what the market actually wants, and in this case, the students didn't care, right? The students didn't actually get that much value out of using the tool. And actually, if you go back, we should have had an even earlier warning sign, which is that the professors didn't really want to use the tool either, right? When you go and talk to the professors, they would sort of out of pity agree to test it for a few lectures. But that is not the same thing as product market fit, where they're like, holy crap, that solves this problem that I have. And so sort of bullying customers into using your product is not anything close to product market fit, even if they sort of reticently agree to do it. And so when we were struggling to find product market fit in 2011 and 2012, I felt this really acutely. Like we had failed multiple times at this point, but I still didn't feel like I really knew what I was looking for, right? Like what is this mystical product market fit thing? So frustrating. And we kept seeing glimmers of hope. We kept convincing ourselves that this, that, or the other thing was like a visitor chatting with us on our site or whatever was a big deal, or a vaguely interested sales prospect was product market fit. And so without any positive product market fit examples, we didn't really know what it looked like, and so we could sort of convince ourselves of everything. And this sort of problem of finding product market fit, stat 80% of all founders fail to find product market fit. So 4 out of 5 attempts to found a company just fail at this sort of earliest stage of even finding a problem that you can solve in a unique way. When you're failing to find it, it sort of becomes a strange obsession. And it could really make you sick, actually. To get a little maybe too personal for a second, in 2012, in the midst of our search for product market fit, I lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks and then went to the hospital twice for panic attacks. I haven't had a panic attack before or since then. And I think it's not just me, actually. I think Sam, I don't know if I should share this or not, but when he was founding Looped, I think he basically forgot to eat properly and ended up with scurvy, if I remember correctly. Sam's back there somewhere. So basically, be warned, like finding product market fit is like very emotionally a grind. And the reason it is that you really, really desperately want to find that fit, right? You really want to figure out what is going to work. What is something that customers want? We're all like wired to want to succeed and help people like that. And so you're so intent on finding this thing that you sort of convince yourself into seeing mirages of it. And basically you convince yourself like, oh, this is the thing, we're almost there. It's like, this is something that people really want. And so this is a picture of myself with my 3 co-founders, Ilya, Calvin, and Ian, in the summer of 2012, I think. And this is in the midst of sort of our deepest false hopes that we had found something. So we'll dive into that story. And obviously I'm here today because it worked out. I wouldn't be speaking if we had just disappeared into the dark. Let's be incredibly clear that basically product market fit doesn't feel like vague idle interest. It doesn't feel like sort of a glimmer of hope from some early conversation. It doesn't feel like a trickle of people signing up. It really feels like sort of everything in your business has gone totally haywire. There's like this big rush of adrenaline from customers starting to adopt it and sort of ripping it out of your hands. And it really feels like the market is dragging you forward. I think the Dropbox founders said this best, actually, that product market fit feels like stepping on a landmine. And you can't mistake the two. So if you are at all questioning whether you have product market fit or not, you don't.
When you would call them. Right. So that was the WhatsApp 1.0. It failed horribly. Like, it was a disaster. It was depressing. Nobody used it. People downloaded it, actually, surprisingly enough. And I think people downloaded it because there were like no apps back at the time. There were like maybe, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000 apps in the whole app store because it just went live. So we benefited from being early, but the idea wasn't that great. So people would download, and they just like never use it. People just call people like they normally would. It was really hard to replace like a native dialer, and that's kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to replace a native dialing application. We added all these visual indicators. You knew if the message actually was successfully delivered to a server. You knew if it was successfully delivered to the device that you were sending it to. And it just took off. And when Sam talked about like, well, we kind of like went heads down and we didn't go to conferences and we didn't do a whole lot of other stuff, it's just because we were lucky. We stumbled into something that people really, really had a need for. Just think about SMS back in 2006, 2007, right? There was no iMessage. Nothing else worked on your phone. SMS was expensive. It was horribly limiting. You can only send 160 characters at a time. And if you sent a longer message, it would break it into multiple chunks. And sometimes like the chunk at the bottom would arrive first. So you have to like read the message at the bottom and then read the message on top after that. Media was horribly expensive, and it was not working well across platforms. So if I sent like a video recorded on Nokia phone to BlackBerry users, they probably couldn't have watched it. Or if you sent a video recorded on BlackBerry to iPhone, it probably wouldn't work either. So we had all these limitations with SMS that we were trying to address in our product. And obviously, the biggest one was cost. SMS was very expensive in Europe and in many countries outside of North America. And we just kept going. So once we figured out that there is a need for it, we were like, well, we better hire.